Okay, I think this is recording. So hi everyone. Just wanted to shoot a quick video to go over your posters. I'm sure you guys have some questions about it. I know you are still working on your final papers, but even when you submit your finals papers on, I think it's coming up on the 29th, and if we're still going back and forth with some edits and what have you, you can definitely still start working on your poster. So I would start working on it right away. I don't think many of the elements are going to change, as you'll see when we go through this. So I have a couple samples that we can go over. So let me have those pulled up. Okay, there we go. Okay, so hopefully we can get this to work. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to go over a couple of samples from previous students. Okay, that should work. Okay, so you should have received instructions from Maya, and if you didn't, please let me know. But there's a link to a specific template that you guys will use, and it's for the literature review. And there's different elements your um, on your poster that you will see here with different headings. And that's kind of their standard template. If you need to move things around, it's definitely okay. You can change the way the headings are ordered. You can change the name of the headings. Of course, you want to have some fundamental things that are there, but it doesn't have to be this static template. You can add different images. The goal of your poster, and this will be in the future if you haven't done this already, hopefully you'll be doing this in your future careers. You know, as nurses, we really want to share the research, the evidence-based practice, the project improvements, quality improvement projects that we are doing. And we want to see what's working, we want to see what's not working, and we want to be able to share that. And that's called dissemination, right? So I'm hoping in the future that you guys will submit work that you've done to different conferences. I'm sure there's conferences related to nurse practitioners, the different areas of specialties that you get into. So hopefully this will be just, if you haven't done it already, this your graduation experience will be one of your first sessions with a poster presentation. But as you may know, if you attend these conferences, there's poster sessions, there's posters up. The people that have created these posters are standing next to those posters, and people are walking by, and so you have 3, maybe 5 minutes for them to stop, look over your poster, see what the main points are, what the objective is. How did you set up your study or your literature review? And then, of course, the main thing is what were the findings and how can they implement that towards their practice? Because they're attending that conference to understand what are the best practices that are happening in their area of specialty. So, that being said, you want to keep it very simple. People don't have a lot of time to read, they have a lot of posters they want to review. And oftentimes, these poster sessions are between speakers. And so, there's a limited amount of time that they have to look at all of the posters. So just keep that in mind. You want to keep things bullet pointed. You really don't want any paragraphs, and you want to keep it pretty simple. So here's one example. This is it looks like a HPV sampling and cervical cancer screening. And this is a literature review that was done. And so we'll kind of go through some of the pieces here. But just at first glance, overall, it's visually appealing, but there still is quite a bit of content here. There's a lot to read. So just keep in mind, again, you don't want to overwhelm the readers. You really want to keep it kind of sweet and to the point. So as you open your template, as you can see, it's a PowerPoint, and that's very typical. And this also is the format that's used for printing. So your printing shops tend to want to use PowerPoint to be able to print high quality posters. And when you submit this to San Jose State, from my understanding, Maya will be having these printed, and then you will be setting up your posters on, I think it's May 16th. And so you want to make sure you use this format. So when you start editing, this is kind of how, when you open it, it'll be kind of in this bird's eye view. So you want to go ahead and zoom into the different areas that you want to look at, and your zoom button is down here on your right hand side. So you just are going to zoom in. and then you can start putting in your information. Here, you of course want to put your name. You can put myself as a faculty advisor, but you want to put your name, and you always want to put your credentials. Okay. So let's start off with the first part, the background and significance. And this is pretty typical, regardless of what kind of, if you're doing evidence-based practice, literature review, quality improvement. People want to know, why did you do this project? What is the background? What is the significance? What made you passionate about this topic? And that can also be, what gaps were you finding? Let me think. For an example, somebody is doing one of you is doing a project on osteoporosis and early screening and detection. So there you might talk about, why is it important that we do the early screening? What are the consequences of osteoporosis? What is the issue there that made you passionate about this specific topic? When you go down to design and methods, this can be, of course, an area where you normally, if you had a traditional project, you could talk about the methodology and how you set up that study or how you set up that quality improvement project. For here, you can talk about your search strategies, your inclusion and exclusion criteria, and how you set up your literature review. In this situation, they also included this diagram here, which talks about, again, how many studies they looked at and how they narrowed down those studies. As you scroll down, your strengths and limitations, which of course I think is embedded into your papers. And so you can highlight some of the strengths of your literature review and some of the limitations that you found with your studies. And then coming over here is your results and discussion. So in this situation, they set it up as themes, and most of you are doing that, where you're finding your major themes from your literature review, and they're highlighting each theme with some bullet points. And again, there's quite a lot of information here. I think they did a good job with the bullet pointing, but you could possibly narrow it down even more to maybe just 1 or 2 bullet points per theme. This person obviously had a lot more themes. Most of you don't have this many themes in your drafts that you have to me so far, which will make it better. It'll make it a little bit more visually appealing. So it's a lot easier if you only have 3 or 4 themes that you're working with. And then finally, the most important is your conclusions and practice implications. So what conclusions did you find? And then for nurse practitioners, what are those practice implications? If you're a nurse practitioner going to a conference like this, what have you found in your literature review that you feel nurse practitioners should incorporate into their practice? And then of course, here you can highlight any gaps in the literature that you found and the potential for future research projects as well. So as you can see, you need to really zoom in when you're working with this specific section, and just really look at, sometimes it's really good to zoom in. Sometimes you may have different fonts that are appearing if you're cutting and pasting things in. I don't know if they meant to bullet point this. They may or may not have little things like that. So when you're done with your final poster, and of course, I'll take a look for you guys too, but you really want to zoom in and look it over to see what it looks like up close. But then, of course, you also want to be able to zoom out and see that everything looks okay and is symmetrical, etc. This is always good. You can, if you, as you're going to conferences, you could put references available on request. Some people will list their references on their poster, but you guys have so many. You don't want to lose space on your poster to have all your references. One thing that I've done for some of my posters is you can have a QR code and you can have your references living somewhere on a hub page, on a website page. And so when they scan the QR code, it can take them to that link. You can also provide your information and your email address, and then people that are interested in finding out more can email you directly for your list of references. So this is one example, and then I'll open up the other one I think that I sent to you guys. And just because I'm on my laptop and I'm used to really sharing at work, I want to make sure that I don't accidentally move screens and then you're not able to see what I'm trying to share with you. So I'm going to share again. Just make sure we get the right screen. Okay. So this is the chlorhexidine one, which is kind of cool because our hospital just finished doing, one of my colleagues did a big project on chlorhexidine. We were using these different wipes, and she came to our hospital and was like, why are you guys using that? Chlorhexidine is a best practice. So we actually just recently switched to chlorhexidine bathing, and we saw a decrease in our CLABSI rates. But as you can see, this student decided to change around the flow of their poster for what works for them and what makes sense to them. And that's totally okay. So I just wanted to show you a different example. So we're going to zoom in again and start to scroll through. So they opted to have their key terms that they searched up here. Again, you see that kind of familiarity. You want to have that background and purpose. Why are we doing this? They added their PICO question, which if you want to add your research question, you're more than happy to do that. Then they added some visuals, which can always be nice. It is a little bit of marketing. You want people to come over to your poster, and sometimes when you're able to have pictures like this, it's visually appealing and can lead somebody to come over and look at your poster. Because from far away, if I'm like, I'm wondering about best practices on bathing with my patients in the hospital, you see those pictures and you know where to go. Again, they have a visual on their methods on how they did their study, their literature review, and how they found their articles. And here they have their implications for practice. And over here, they have their findings. And again, they did it by theme, which I think would be great. I think when you're looking at the flow, my suggestion would be you have your background and understanding why you guys are doing this literature review. You have your methodology. How did you do your literature review? How did you find those articles? What databases did you use? What key terms did you find or did you utilize? And then what were your overall findings? And here you can list your major themes. As you can see, this is beautiful. It's just a few themes, nice and simple, a bullet point for each one. And then you can go into your discussion and results. And then, of course, you always want to include any limitations. All right. So those are a couple different samples. Hopefully you get the general idea. And again, I will have office hours open on Wednesday. Just FYI, I will be at a conference in Vegas, but I'll be in my hotel room and we'll open up the meeting room. So if you have any questions about your paper, even if you're struggling and you're not ready to get your paper in on the 29th, that's okay. Just email me or text me and give me a heads up. If you have any questions about the paper, if you have any questions about the poster, we can meet on Wednesday. Of course, I'm sure if you're just trying to get your paper in and you're like, I need a minute before I start on the poster, that's fine too. Please remember, you can always text me, email me. We can set up separate meetings as well. Okay. So I think that's about it. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to stop the recording and I will send this to you guys and hope you're hanging in there. You're almost done. I will be at the, as of now, unless something crazy happens at work, I will be at the May 16th poster session. So I can't wait to see your posters and meet you guys in person. All right. Take care.